I am Leen Vandepitte, and I will introduce you to the UN Ocean Decade project, above and beyond completing the World Register of Marine Species, or ABC WoRMS in short. We all know these immortal words by Shakespeare, suggesting that names themselves hold no worth nor meaning. Names simply act as labels to distinguish one thing or person from another, and it is not the name itself that gives a living being its essential quality. And yet, names are of the utmost importance, especially the correct usage of names within the fields of science. It is at this level that the World Register of Marine Species plays such an important role. WoRMS is an authoritative classification and catalogue of marine names managed by a wide variety of experts. It aims to provide a comprehensive list of names of marine organisms, including information on synonymy. And this register can serve as a guide to interpret taxonomic literature. The expression "all roads lead to Rome" is also, figuratively speaking, applicable to WoRMS. Not only can WoRMS rely on countless contributions from experts worldwide, it also serves a global user community. WoRMS did not start right away as a world register. It was initiated in 2004 as the European Register of Marine Species, and in 2007 it was then decided to further build on this register to create an online World Register of Marine Species. WoRMS is not just a name index, but an expert-based taxonomic database. WoRMS is governed on three different levels. First and foremost, it relies on countless voluntary contributions of almost 300 marine-oriented editors who form the editorial board. The WoRMS Steering Committee represents the members of this board in all matters related to the database. And then there's also the data management team, who keep the database online and who support the editor and user community. WoRMS has a permanent home at the Flanders Marine Institute in Belgium. WoRMS itself is a web-based system, including many online functionalities and services. You only need access to the internet to consult or edit WoRMS. When the UN Ocean Decade was launched in 2021 with its overall vision of the science we need for the ocean we want, the WoRMS Steering Committee and Data Management Team decided to aim for an endorsement of WoRMS. The general vision of the Ocean Decade implies we have excellent knowledge of what lives in the ocean. All marine biological science is somehow linked to the core knowledge and correct usage of taxonomy, a scientific means to unambiguously name all marine species, ensuring all existing names are thoroughly documented and linked to their valid name. In October of last year, WoRMS was endorsed as an Ocean Decade project action entitled ABC WoRMS. An authoritative and comprehensive list of names of marine organisms may seem a rather small implicit part in the Decade mission, yet it is indispensable and fundamental in linking numerous other initiatives. Upon endorsement as a Decade project, WoRMS was linked to the endorsed action program Marine Life 2030, a global integrated marine biodiversity information management and forecasting system for sustainable development and conservation. Marine Life 2030 will unite existing and frontier technologies and partners into a global interoperable network and community of practice, advancing observation and forecasting of marine life. Both Marine Life 2030 and WoRMS mainly and directly contribute to the Sustainable Development Goal 14, Life Below Water. In order to be able to protect, conserve, and sustainably manage marine life, knowledge of which species are encountered below the surface of oceans and seas and their characteristics is critical. When looking at the distribution of marine life, one needs to be able to correctly name a species. Additionally, linking a species and its characteristics to its distribution can give valuable insights on how a species is affected by its surroundings, which is relevant in any research linked to climate change and, for example, ocean acidification. Several high-level objectives have been defined for WoRMS within the decades. A first goal is to provide a complete database of marine taxon names by targeting the currently identified priorities and gaps, documenting the relationships between existing names and linking each name to supporting taxonomic literature. WoRMS also serves as a data rescue platform for taxonomically focused databases at the brink of disappearing, thereby safeguarding expert knowledge and making it widely and publicly available. The WoRMS community will develop strategies and guidelines to consistently deal with well-established temporary names and open taxonomic nomenclature, as this kind of nomenclature is being used more frequently by the taxonomic community and can no longer be ignored in taxonomic databases. The documentation of species traits, which are of critical importance for ecological marine research, will be encouraged. Trait information is not always easily available and accessible, but WoRMS provides an excellent platform for the capture of these data in a structured and easily accessible format. We want to provide improved support and links between other global databases and infrastructures that use a marine taxonomic backbone, as well as improved content and stronger relationships with initiatives and infrastructures such as, for example, Catalog of Life, the Barcode of Life, and GenBank. Lastly, to widen the user groups of WoRMS, thereby targeting scientists, policymakers, industry, and the public at large, so all can make use and benefit from WoRMS and its supporting network. WoRMS is an international service driven by its editorial board, steering committee, and data management team, making sure that an authoritative and quality-controlled taxonomic register can be offered to its user groups. WoRMS is freely accessible for all, and it does not only offer its content through its website, but also through several web services, allowing easy machine-to-machine communication. Overall, WoRMS is being used as a quality control tool by many people, institutes, projects, and initiatives to verify the used taxonomy in their lists and databases. So far, I've talked about what WoRMS can do for you, but there are also things that you can do for WoRMS to help us become more complete. As mentioned earlier, WoRMS is a dynamic system. As any major online database, WoRMS is not complete. And in order to become more complete, your feedback as a user is indispensable. Only this way, we're able to fill certain gaps and identify specific errors. So please don't hesitate to point out possible shortcomings or errors in the content of WoRMS and acknowledge your usage of WoRMS. All this feedback feeds into WoRMS, then feeds into the Marine Life 2030 program, and thus is a contribution to the UN decade as a whole. Over time, the data management team has become very fond of this quote by Bill Bryson, as it poetically summarizes the field of taxonomy. Taxonomy, being the art and science of classifying life, should really be a civilized pursuit. It encourages solitude, concentration, and care. However, taxonomy sometimes shows to be one of the more contentious fields in science, a place where arguments over names and classifications can persevere for a long time. And within WoRMS, we try really hard to document all this and to guide users through the labyrinth of marine species names. If you have any questions or want to provide feedback, you can always contact us through our info address. We are very much looking forward to anything the UN Ocean Decade might bring and how we can potentially collaborate with all the amazing